Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're all doing well, and welcome to the showdown between Khorne and the Greenskins. It's going to be myself with the Chaos Lord of Khorne facing off against Subutai, who's going to be rocking the Night Goblin War Boss, the classic Rampage machine, here on the Ragnarok Lair. So Khorne is going to be one of my new adopted projects. I've been having a ton of fun playing them. I still do think that they're one of the weaker factions in the game, but they got some schemes, well not really schemes, but they got some brutish, aggressive strategies that can work. So against the Greenskins, we're going to be rocking Cultists of Khorne. Now, these guys, of course, can get smashed a little bit by squigs, so you got to watch out, but they're still pretty stalwart fighters and can summon a unit of Bloodletters, which are, pretty powerful. Bloodletters trade okay into a lot of the Savage infantry because of the magic damage and bonus versus infantry. And yeah, I wouldn't want to have them as like one of the core units that I call in here because they're just going to get wrecked by archers, but as a summon that I can get behind something or on top of something, it's going to be pretty good. Now, this guy is just so freaking cool. I think one of the most rad looking characters in the entire game. This is like what every, I remember like looking at Warhammer Fantasy Battles when, God, the year would have been like maybe, I don't know, 2000, 2003 or something. I was pretty young in 2000, I was 12. And I remember seeing like the art of the Chaos Lord, right? And it's just like, this is like the embodiment of what you like when you're 12 years old, like this cool Chaos Lord. But yeah, he's got pretty juiced stats, right? 75, 50, almost 600 weapon strength on foot, a charge bonus of 50 on foot. He's got some nice auras that give leadership and vigor. He does also give melee attack once he kills some things, which is going to happen. So he gives a lot, right? So it's going to be 8 leadership, 8 melee attack, vigor benefit as well. He does have the mage mechanic that Norska has, and on top of that, he's got fight or die. So I was like, he's pretty cheap. Maybe he's underrated. Aside from that, we got Marauders of Khorne with Minotaurs of Khorne, going for the dual-wielding variant, since Greenskins usually like to spam infantry. For Boar Boy Biggins, you can just kind of hide the Minotaurs on top of your troopers, hopefully, or call in the great weapons. And lastly, we're going to be spamming a lot of Marauders of Khorne with dual weapons. These guys trade, I think, okay into Savage Orcs. I haven't tested it, but yeah, they can buzzsaw through infantry if they're able to get those fights without getting shot. For Aaron, I was about to say, call him by his real name because we hang out in real life. For Subutai's army, he's got a big legion of Savage Orcs, so it's going to be Savage Orcs into the sunset with squig herds. All the standard stuff, really. Sometimes you'll see Orc Boys, sometimes Savage Orcs. Depends on how you want to build your army out. And Savage Orc Air Boys will do a ton of damage against my lightly armored units, right? The Marauders, especially with dual weapons, we want to avoid. Now, the only reason I was comfortable really taking this matchup was because of the map. I knew that the map had some nice terrain I could utilize, which is something I really like about Domination Mode, right? I can use the terrain and it can really develop in a fair way, right? It's not like something where I'm going to be camping in the bushes and forcing them to attack me. I have to move out to get the objectives, but you can still use it to screen the archers a little bit. So I was like, okay, let's split my army in two and take some fights in the pit. So we're going to take a fight on objective 3, objective 1, and yield objective 2 until, we can potentially get an advantage. We'll have to see. And you guys are going to love the Collins this game. We're getting super crazy. There's Chaos Knights, we got Knights of the Brazen Throne coming out, and we're going to see if we can make them work against a very sweaty Greenskin build here. So moving up into the trees, we do have the Marauders of Khorne. And yes, here comes the Cultists and the Chaos Lord. So I figured, hey, let's push up through the trees and poke a little bit. Excuse me. Squig herds could be quite scary, though. If they're able to isolate my foot characters, I mean, they will win, of course, over time, but they're going to take a lot of damage, and it'll probably be a down trade for me. So here we got the two Chaos, not Warriors, but Marauders moving on to objective number 3. The first time I saw them being used to good effect, there was a player last season, I believe it was Berserk. He's one of the top players in the world. He's very, very good. But he was using Khorne in tournaments. He kind of stopped after a while, but he was using them and had been using the Marauders of Khorne with dual weapons, which I always felt were kind of haggard, but yeah, he made them work and kind of changed my opinion of those. So yeah, we'll see how that plays out here. Even still, Chaos Lord and the old Cultist waiting in the trees, and we're going to be moving up and screening. So the Greenskins are going to have to make a call. They could try and alpha strike my weaker position, at which point the idea for me is I pull back, and then I push out from this side and try and flank him. That was my overall game plan here. You got to be a little bit cagey with that. And here comes the call, the Knights of the Brazen Shad. Here they come, yes. In theory, an absolute terminator of infantry, right? Like, so clearing out mass amounts of like Savage Orcs and even Squigs, they'll do pretty good against them because Squigs are a bonus versus infantry unit, right? But the first Savage Orc unit has arrived up on the objective. The second one is going to be heading over there as well. And we do get the two Cultists engaging now. So the Cultists of Khorne are going to be, building up that sweet prayer to the god of violence here. And I guess Kane's kind of the god of violence and murder as well. But, Khorne likes to party that way also. Yeah, Chaos Lord's in there, the two Cultists are in there, hoping they'll have a decent fight, and you can see the Squigs are taking a bit of damage. Despite a bad moon going down, does give them a little bit of base damage and AP, so it is augmenting. You can see my two Cultists are getting smashed up a little bit, but it's not the end of the world, and the Knights of the Brazen Throne are going to be arriving through the tree line. Minotaurs of Khorne do have 70 armor, so it helps them a bit against missiles, and here comes the Knights of the Brazen Shad preparing to charge out. A bit of an awkward charge, so they're not going to get that huge impact charge, but they still manage to get through. Oh, they're so freaking cool looking. and are going to get some huge damage against those guys. You can see immediately the Savage Orcs are going to get punished, and also they're very good in sustained combat, so they can sit there and fight, kind of like Chosen of sorts. Squigs do get routed here. Minotaurs ambushing out of the trees, going to be supporting the Chaos Lord of Khorne. Meanwhile, the Greenskins, the old Waz on its way in, sneaky stabbing. I don't know how these things would stab. They don't have any hands, but I guess they stab with their teeth, and the Squigs do arrive in, and the arrow fire starts to saturate in. So I had a bit of a decent engagement out of the gates, but I started to notice he was passing me in value. A lot of shooting going down, and of course the dreaded rampage. So the Knights of the Brazen Throne do get rampaged by the fermented fungi. So they're going to be out of control for a couple more seconds, but thankfully it wasn't that bad really, because they just rampaged on top of that unit. And now I can retreat them away and hopefully find my home. On the low ground go, the fighting against the Savage Orcs and Squigs went very well because of the Minotaurs. And yeah, it looks like it's a pretty dead even trade. The Savage Orcs and the Marauders of Khorne with dual weapons trading right down the center. And overall, we are going to be winning the fight on that objective. Meanwhile, on the back point here, the Knights of the Brazen Throne and the Minotaurs of Khorne rotating away from the missiles while I summon Bloodletters to push him back. So I'm like, okay, let's just sacrifice these Bloodletters to Khorne. Yeah, let's go right back to Big Papa and then be sent out somewhere else. You know, that's how the demons work, right? So yeah, more than happy to take this fight. They'll kill a couple Orc Warboy Biggins. They're absorbing missile fire here. Overall, it's pretty good. Unfortunately, some of my Fleshhounds I called in did get caught. But we are threatening a triple cap right now. We do have some warriors who made it up. No Marauders, and the Cultists and the Chaos Lord of Khorne. We got to get some close-ups of this bad boy here. Yeah, he's going to move in and start punishing some of these Orcs. And by now, he should have enough kills that he probably is giving a decent amount of melee attack. Let's check. So right now, he is giving +4 right now. So it's going to be +8 by the time we get to like early mid-game, right? So Knights of the Brazen Throne did retreat this direction, but Subutai chased me pretty well. He got the Orc Warboy Biggins with sneaky stabbing on top of them, which is definitely unfortunate, and the wall going down, so their stats are going to be jacked for a moment. But Fleshhounds, Minotaurs, and Knights of the Brazen Throne, even though they are being countered technically by this unit, just in these sheer numbers and the quality of the units here, the Knights of the Brazen Throne will be able to win this fight, and the pigs are probably going to get, you know, chased off. The Fleshhounds do pretty good damage, granted. Orc Warboy Biggins, they definitely need an armor reduction. I don't think they should be, like, even, yeah, 85 is pretty heavy duty for how they're actually kind of represented in tabletop, I suppose. Well, on tabletop, I think they have light armor and a shield. They might have heavy armor. I'm not sure. Yeah, we'll have to look into that. But Orc Warboy Biggins swarming down, and the archer is able to push me off the point a little bit, so we do start to kind of fold on a point, unfortunately. So he does manage to get us off this one, and he does have a big value lead. And I don't have any healing, so that was really, really stressing me out. I was kind of like, oh boy, I need to get some value here. So who do we call? The Ghostbusters. No, Chaos Knights of Khorne. So they're going to come around and flank these Orc Warboy Biggins, who will not get their charge bonus. And I knew I had infantry support here and Fleshhound, so I was okay with taking this fight. Normally, Chaos Knights against Orc Warboy Biggins is not good for you, but here, this is a situation that is going to be pretty decent. So we do manage to get in, and the old Orc Wars are getting dragged down. Chaos Knights taking very little damage. Meanwhile, up in the middle, fighting is going okay. Objective 1 is very well secured, and the 2 Marauders that were there were pushed up into his spawn area to try and occupy the missiles with their shields, and they do that. But unfortunately, they do eventually get pushed back. But the Chaos Lord is going to be very tough to remove, as well as the Cultists here. And the Archers of Old Subutai here are still online. A couple Savage Orc Airboys shooting. And Savage Orc Airboys are quite good because they're very fighty. Even if I attack them with some melee units, they're actually going to be capable of fighting things like Fleshhounds and, you know, not trading terribly. Sure, a Fleshhound might get them eventually, but it's not the worst. But the Chaos Knights here do a good job. The Orc Warboy Biggins do get folded up with the Marauder support. A couple Fleshhounds called out of reserve are going to be jumping on top of the Goblins here. And these are no Savage Orc Airboys. These guys are going to get melted. Meanwhile, the Knights of the Brazen Throne return from their old sabbatical here. Sabbatical of blood, and they are going to be hunting down these Savage Orcs. So Savage Orcs on the run right now, though arguably they maybe just should turn and fight here and let the other archers shoot. But yeah, Knights of the Brazen Throne, they've been through a lot, but they haven't heard any bell whatsoever, and they are going to continue chasing down the old Greenskins. Looking at the value, it is getting closer, 7.5 against 6.8. Chaos Knights able to win the fight against the Orc Warboy Biggins. Meanwhile, on Objective 1, not much is going down, so the epicenter of action is really here, and the Greenskins is just trying to get that archer position online, just start wasting the Minotaurs, wasting all my big targets, but that's why I brought the foot characters. I was kind of like, they're going to be resilient against the Orc Arrow Fire, maybe it can give me some sustained goodness, and now that the fighting is getting really pitched and really close, I was like, I need some staying power, and my opponent, you know, calling in the elite infantry a little bit later on, sometimes people can run out of steam with like magic and missiles, and it's a good time to call in the better troops. So the Chaos Warriors of Khorne are going to be on their way up, and these guys are pretty jacked. I do think that a good buff for Khorne, I think they're considered the worst faction in the game right now, but is to probably take away the penalty on the Mark of Khorne for melee defense. I think like Khorne should be proficient in fighting, and you know, even though they are like I guess could be perceived as reckless like Berserker units, the Mark of Khorne is just like losing melee defense for like a unit that's supposed to be a really good fighter is tough. I know Slaanesh is like more known for like their martial prowess, and Khorne kind of benefits from their aggression and just violence, but I don't know. I feel like that would be a way to make Khorne a more reasonable melee fighter faction. But the two cultists, though, are certainly trying to prove me wrong here. They're fighting tooth and nail here in the pits, holding back the Savage Orc Biggins who have moved in. These guys are lawnmowers, but they're going to be struggling against the high armor of the Chaos Lord here. Chaos Lord has gotten about 500 value so far, and he's buffing nearby units as well. He's going to be healing the bigger of nearby units, among other things. So knowing that the archer line was pushing me back and the value was still very close, I decided to retreat into the trees. So again, like I said, taking advantage of the terrain a little bit. So we moved the hounds and the minotaurs into the tree line to try and, obstruct them from my opponent's view. And now they're going to be ambushing out once the archers are tamed a little bit. So we move up. Here comes the big old minotaurs. Fleshhounds are a very good counter against squig herds, so we move into the squig herds. And I mean, it's still not great. Squigs only cost like 350, whereas fleshhounds cost like twice as much. So yeah, I will win that, but from a cost perspective, squigs are another thing that probably need a little bit of a cost adjustment. On the far side objective, I was camping it with Chaos Knights. He obviously saw that, so he sent some Orc Warboy Biggins over. So that was a little bit scary for me. So we replaced that with some Chaos Warriors of Khorne and decided to go to the middle objective instead. Just going to let him get this point and try and bolster this spot with my Chaos Knights as well as those warriors. So the shielded boys have arrived, and he was used to fighting the Marauders all game, but when the big, absolute violent warriors arrive, they're going to be moving up, pushing back the Orc warriors, and Savage Orcs are on the way, but it's going to take 10 years for them to get through those Chaos warriors, probably. Meanwhile, the low ground objective, the Chaos Lord of Khorne, buffing up his nearby demons and his cultists, and he's going to be probably getting close to paying for himself over the course of the game, depending on what he's able to get. But the Savage Orc Biggins here do get butchered by the Cultists of Khorne, as well as the Fleshhounds, which do magic damage and do circumvent the physical resist, the War Paint, on those guys. What does that actually give on Savage Orcs? 25%, yeah, that's really good. So magic damage quite good against Savage units, as you do know. Marauders moving up, and a couple Minotaurs of Khorne still alive, but this side objective looking very, very kind of sturdy. And the Chaos Knights, instead of going down and fighting the Orc War Boys, decide to just go crash into the middle and support the Chaos Warriors. And they are able to start butchering these Savage Orc Air Boys. Now, the Savage Orc Air Boys do fight back a little bit, manage to kill a couple Chaos Knight models, but overall, the Chaos Knights of Khorne still going to be having a good time, and they will continue rampaging. And honestly, have been doing very good. They're up to 1,000 value this game, and I've been casting a lot of really, really kind of high-level games these days, and some of the tournaments that have been going on. And I've been seeing a lot of Chaos Knights, not a lot, but a fair amount from Tzeentch and some from Nurgle as well. Slaanesh too. And it's really, really cool that these expensive cavalry, though they're not like good against everything, they do have their applications like in situations like this. So Chaos Warriors will dominate Savage Orcs, no problem. But the Biggins look like they might be coming for a bit of a rout here, but overall, there's not going to be enough time. We do have a triple cap. We're going to leave the Cultists here. The Chaos Lord of Khorne, the ultimate Chad, is going to be heading to the middle here to help out the boys. Curse at a Bad Moon going down on the Chaos Warriors, but they got the blessings of Khorne. They don't care about any of those greenskin tricks. Meanwhile, the Chaos Knight's going to take the fight now because they do have Hound support, and probably will be able to win this 2v1, even against those Orc Warboy Biggins. But there's not much time here. My opponent is out of touch and out of time, and that is going to be it, ladies and gentlemen. GG, well played. The Blood God, he's still got it, baby. He can still get in there every now and then and get a dub. It's not easy, but when you get it, it's all the sweeter. It's all the sweeter. So I like the build a lot. I think if it were a more open map, I wouldn't have been able to get away with that. The Arachnarok Glare enabled us to use the terrain, mitigated the effectiveness of the missiles, which still did okay, mind you. But on a wide open map, it would have been way harder to hide my monsters and cavalry and bigger targets from the missiles. And I think it would have been just exponentially harder. But again, maps play a big part in the meta, depending on the map you're on. So yeah, Chaos Lord was a good little buff station. Cultists held well, summoned Bloodletters. I don't really know what got me my value. Minotaurs at 700, 600 here. Chaos Knights managed to pay for themselves, which is good. And the Knights of the Brazen Throne arguably just could have been another Chaos Knight unit. And yeah, of course, Fleshhounds are always pretty solid. I think a lot of the Greenskin units did rout too, so you don't really take that into account when you look at the value meter. For the Boar Boys, yeah, a couple of them did okay, but for the most part, it looks like the Khornate units did outtrade a lot of the Greenskin units. Squig herds are always just really strong. Like, this thing got 350 value, and it basically paid for itself, which is pretty insane. So, yeah, GG, well played. Blood for the Blood God, Skulls for the Skull Throne. We'll see you guys next time, and that is going to be it for tonight.